In the vast savannas of the Serengeti National Park, there once lived an old lion, a legend in his own right. He would climb atop towering kopjes and roar, a booming declaration that protected his pride from all threats. In his youth, he had feared no chase, from the swift gazelle to the mighty buffalo. Majestic and proud, he led a formidable pride of lions, hunting across the verdant plains. A long scar across his brow bore witness to a fierce battle with a colossal bull he had once vanquished. For many years, this lion had been a proud symbol of the Serengeti, admired by countless tourists. But time spares no one, and he was no exception. With advancing age, his legs grew weary, no longer possessing their former agility. His once thick, regal mane was now ragged, revealing patches of darker skin. The younger lions gradually assumed his leadership, and he accepted their decision, leaving the pride to seek a quiet corner of the reserve. Now he lived alone, peacefully, on the fringes of the park, no longer fighting, no longer roaring, just walking in silence. Each morning, he would gaze at the crimson dawn on the horizon, a wistful memory of a king's golden era. Sometimes he would follow the fence bordering the nearby ranches, hoping to find a small prey to sustain him for the day. The local ranchers were accustomed to his frail appearance. One day, they spotted him walking slowly, his eyes tired yet still retaining their dignity. Despite their worries, they still respected the now old, once heroic, living legend of the Serengeti. Some individuals would leave scraps of meat near the fence, increasing his chances of survival. He understood human kindness, not snarling or threatening, but simply approaching quietly to eat and then departing. Over time, his health steadily deteriorated, making hunting an impossible task. It was a scorching afternoon, and he had been without food for almost a week. His stomach empty, his throat parched, he struggled to walk a few more miles, but was nearly spent. The expansive savannas were no longer a glorious stage, but a struggle for life and death. Exhausted, he spotted a damp puddle of mud next to a sparse, sun-baked tree. His weak body swayed forward, hoping to find some coolness to escape the heat. As he sank into the mud, sleep overcame him, and he fell into a deep slumber, as if he hadn't slept in ages. Hours later, the sun was still scorching, the mud slowly dried, and part of his body became trapped. When the old lion awoke, a fierce hunger gnawed at his very being, his muscles almost paralyzed. He struggled with his legs, but the mud had become a trap, sucking away his remaining strength. A faint moan, mingled with the sound of the wind sweeping across the dry savanna, could be heard in the distance. The ranchers were still at work when they suddenly heard strange sounds. Curious and wary, they quickly walked to investigate, their instincts telling them it might be a lion's roar. As they approached, they were shocked to see the old king trapped in the mud pit, unable to get up. At first, their hearts pounded with the fear of attack, but the sight of the helpless lion was too pitiful. He just lay there, head bowed, occasionally letting out soft whimpers. The three men immediately discussed and decided to rescue the old lion from the mud. They used ropes, wooden stakes, and even their sheer arm strength to try and pull him out. The thick mud clinging to the lion's body made the rescue even more challenging. Every drop of sweat soaked their shirts, but they didn't give up, for a precious life lay before their eyes. Finally, the old lion was pulled out of the pit and rolled onto the sun-baked grass. His eyes were heavy with fatigue, and he was breathing heavily, with no strength left to resist. The three ranchers immediately backed away, fearing the lion would suddenly stand up, but he lay motionless. 5 minutes passed, and he still didn't move, only breathing deeply. Seeing the dire situation, the ranchers decided to call the Serengeti National Park Rangers. 15 minutes later, a Land Rover driven by Ranger Michael appeared. Michael had been observing this lion for a long time, admiring both his past and his enduring resilience. He got out of the car with a medical kit and a water bottle, rushing towards where the lion lay. Examining the wounds and breathing, Michael breathed a sigh of relief, seeing that the lion wasn't severely scratched. The problem was exhaustion dehydration, and severe malnourishment. He reassured the three ranchers, telling them the lion only needed rest and special care. Michael took out a tube of health-boosting medication from his medical kit and slowly injected it into the lion's muscle. While waiting for the medication to take effect, he told everyone to stand back to avoid panic. The sun still shone brightly overhead, but Michael and the three men patiently monitored the lion's condition. About 10 minutes later, slight movements were observed. He lifted his head, sniffed, and blinked a few times. Michael checked his pulse and nodded, indicating that his condition was improving. Knowing the lion would need to eat, Michael retrieved prepared meat from the vehicle. He tossed a piece of meat onto the grass a few meters away, not too close to the lion. The lion sniffed, slowly rose on his trembling four legs, and then cautiously approached. He took a bite of meat, chewing slowly, his eyes still wary but also gleaming with gratitude. The ranchers breathed a sigh of relief, smiling at each other, for at least the old lion had eaten his fill. His body would need more time to recover, but this was a good sign for life. Michael smiled, saying he would report to the management team to monitor the lion's health over the next few days. If necessary, he would be moved to a more suitable area of the reserve with easy access to water and food. The three ranchers looked at each other, happy to have saved a surviving legend. Before leaving, they spoke further with Michael and promised to let him know if they saw the lion return to the ranch. When the old lion finished his meal, he looked at his benefactors with deep eyes, appearing thoughtful. On his dusty back, each strand of hair was painted by the setting sun, creating a poignant scene. Michael nodded in farewell, got into his car, and prepared to drive off, giving the lion some time to rest. The three ranchers also returned to their work, but their hearts still followed every movement of the old king. The distant savannas were beginning to take on the golden hues of the afternoon, casting a gentle glow over the old lion. He purred softly in thanks, then slowly walked away from the mud pit that had nearly claimed his life. His steps were shaky, but his determination to survive and his newfound faith in human kindness sustained him. Some passing tourists noticed that the legend of the Serengeti was still alive, though not as fierce as before. People would tell the story today of the mighty old lion rescued from death by humans. Michael, on his way back, secretly hoped to see him again on future patrols. He knew the lion, despite being near the end of his journey, still yearned to live free in the savannah. As night fell, the chirping of insects echoed, and the savannah returned to silence. It seemed nature, too, wished the old lion a peaceful sleep after a difficult day. The next morning, news of the lion spread across the ranches, and everyone spoke of the three men's courage. Their hearts warmed as they understood that lions, though wild predators, deserved to be saved. Some chuckled, remembering the timid yet precious way he took the bite of meat. They sensed the dignity of a king without a crown, yet still retaining his pride. In the days that followed, Michael and the conservation team patrolled the area regularly. When they saw the lion was exhausted, they always carried extra food to replenish him. The passage of time is unstoppable, but kindness and sharing will always exist in the fields of the Serengeti. The story of the old lion becomes a living testament to the bond between humans and nature. Everyone hopes he will live the rest of his life in peace, without hunger or thirst again. And in the Serengeti, the old legend still walks slowly, carrying the respect of generations who have witnessed his tale. Thank you, my friend, for taking the time to follow the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.